Hello, my name is Tracy Allen, and I want to welcome you to Cooking with Some Friends. Good morning and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I'm going to show you this morning, before we go to church, a simple 1-minute apple dip that's got a great caramel flavor. So in my bowl, I have 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. I was going to do it in my smaller bowl, but I figured I'd be wearing part of it if I did that. So I also want to add to that a half a cup of brown sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and this is a variation of the apple dip that our family just loves. This one's great too. So, and it really takes you longer to get your ingredients out than it does to actually make it. And then I have some caramel extract that I'm going to put in, about 3/4 of a teaspoon. All I have to do is mix this together, and then I will cover it and refrigerate it until we're ready to have lunch. You can definitely smell the caramel. I told you I'd be wearing some of it. Not nearly as much as if I'd done it in the smaller bowl. So I will transfer this to that smaller bowl and then cover it and put it in the refrigerator until lunchtime. Hello everyone and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I'm getting some things ready for our lunch that take a lot of time, and this is lunch for tomorrow because they take so much time. But one of the recipes I wanted to share with you is our recipe for slow-cooked Boston baked beans. And Boston is known for their baked beans, partially because in a darker part of our American history, Boston was the center for rum trade. And rum is a byproduct of the fermented molasses. And so there was a lot of molasses available, so they came up with recipes using them in beans. And so we have slow cooked combination with that we're going to share today. So last night I took 1 pound of small dry navy beans, and I put 2 tablespoons of salt and enough water to cover the beans, and mix that, and then put the beans in and let them soak overnight. So at least 12 hours. I'm going to add those to my pot, and then I'm going to put in thyme and rosemary. Now, if you have fresh thyme and rosemary, just throw a couple of sprigs of each in. If not, you can use dried, and that would be equal to about 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, and I can't get my lid off as usual. So we'll get as close as we can. And you can add bay leaf to this too. Our family just doesn't like bay leaf very much. Anyhow, my husband doesn't. So it just adds a little more flavor, but if you don't want it, then don't use it. And 1/4 teaspoon of dried rosemary. Then I'm going to add a generous pinch of salt. And I'm going to cover this with 1 or 2 inches of water, put it on my stovetop, bring it to a boil, then drop it to a simmer and let it simmer until the beans are tender, and that'll take 45 minutes to an hour. My beans cooked for 45 minutes. I did add my carrot, so 1 carrot that I chunked up. I added that about the halfway through that 45-minute cooking time. Now in my pan, I've got, and you can use slab bacon if you want to, or at least thick cut bacon. I want a 1/2 pound of that, and you want to cook that for about 4 minutes to render out that fat. I took my 1/2 cup of molasses. To that, I'm going to add my 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, some salt and pepper, and enough of that reserved bean juice to come up to 2 cups. My husband's grilling, so he's coming in to get the burgers. Okay, so I've been cooking my bacon for about 4 minutes. To that, I'm going to add my chunked up onion, and that's totally to taste. You can go from 1/4 of an onion to more if you're a real big onion fan, and I want those to become tender, and that'll take a couple of minutes. I've mixed my molasses and my mustard, my Dijon mustard. Now, this is another thing to taste. Cider vinegar. If you want more of a tangy sauce, then you can add some cider vinegar. You don't have to add it, so it's a totally to taste thing. If you want it more like a tangy barbecue sauce, you can add just a little bit. Add just a little bit more. So that's totally to taste. I usually put in 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons just to give it a little bit of tang. Now, this is almost done, so I am going to add my beans in. Once those onions are tender, I'm going to add the beans that I cooked in here and enough water to just cover them. Then I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. At that point, I am totally ready to transfer to my sprayed baking dish and to put this in the oven at 325. And anytime you do baked beans, slow and low, like when you do barbecue, that's the key. So I want it at 325, and it's going to take it 3 or 4 hours to get to the point that I want it. If they start looking too dry, I can always add some more of my reserved bean water. Otherwise, you're just going to let them cook. The last hour is really probably the most crucial to not let them get too dry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my beans in. And then enough of my bean water just to cover them. So let's do this first so that I don't overdo the water. And it won't take it very long to come up to a simmer. And the color will just get richer as they bake to get your Boston baked beans. My oven's hot. Just a tiny bit more. And then as you can see the bean water just above the beans, and that's all you want. So I'm waiting for the simmer, then I'm going to put it in my baking dish and put that in the oven at 325 for 3 to 4 hours. Thanks for joining us for this session of Cooking with Some Friends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And find us on Facebook at Cooking with Some Friends.